Hey, I don't normally push out videos so quickly, but there was something else that I wanted to address, and it'll totally go out of my head. I think this is of the utmost importance. I look like total crap right now. I'm helping my friend move, and I have freakish strength. She was like, she's an older woman, so she's like, will you help me move? She's like, you seem pretty strong. So I was just moving an insane amount of stuff. It's super heavy shit. She's like, you're like a dude. I have freakish strength. I'm glad I could help. It's also a paid gig. And I got called out of work tonight, which is happening more and more. It's like, I don't know what the hell's going on in the hospitality and food and bev industry, but it's crazy. So clearly I've been looking for work for a hot minute because I can't be called out of work all the time. Anyway, so I was moving stuff all day. I have like sawdust on me because there's workers doing their worker stuff. I love being physical. I do really well with like demolition. My dad was a contractor and he's like, do you want to help me with demolition? Like ask me to paint or like wallpaper. I'm like, fuck no. Ask me to take a hammer and like bang shit up and I'm all for it. Love it. Absolutely love it. So it was nice to do some hardcore physical labor today for her. But I wanted to talk about relying on external input versus trusting your gut. Now, and to my lovely European who emailed me, I love you to pieces. I will get back to you. I do have some words of wisdom. You're also much, much younger, and it's so hard. Love and relationships are so hard when you're a younger person to navigate. I mean, I think it's hard as an adult too. But my point in that is that I would hope that as you mature and you get older, you start to trust yourself a little bit more, right? And rely on that innate intelligence and intuition. I think when we're younger, we tend to question ourselves and doubt ourselves a lot more. Although I'm 47 years old and I still battle with that. So I always say I'm far from perfect. I have no delusions of grandeur with this channel. Whoever's here, I am so deeply honored that you're here. I love that you're here. I love the feedback that I'm getting, even if I don't always like hearing it. Most of it's been wonderfully lovely lately. In the beginning, it was a little rough going when I switched from focusing on women's health and wellness to the male and female dynamic. I know some men get very upset. They don't take kindly to taking advice or suggestions from women. You know, take everything with a grain of salt. The best thing I can do for you, if you're a man watching this, is provide contrast and give you things from a woman's point of view and also be as unbiased as possible. We all have bias, all of us. No one is walking around that is 100% not judgmental or doesn't carry any biases within them. That's just a bunch of crap. I would never trust a person who claims that. They're totally full of malarkey. But you know, I don't know what's going to happen with this channel. My goal is if I help one person, I'm happy with that. You know, then I've done my job. I think that's a life well lived. I'm very service oriented. So again, thank you for being here. I think especially the younger generations rely way too much on peer-to-peer support. I think peer-to-peer support is beneficial. I think I hold value in that. But I also think that there is this relying too heavily on external sources, period. It's like that person who's been in therapy for 10 years. You just don't trust yourself. I don't know anyone who should be, you know, and I'm going to school to be a counselor. I'm in the line of therapeutics, even with yoga. No one should be going to therapy for that long without some type of breaks, or even going and switching therapists and listening to a different voice and hearing different outlooks, etc. You've got to learn to trust yourself. It's a very difficult thing. And I think we're so heavily distracted with technology. And, you know, there's all these self-proclaimed gurus and thought leaders. And there's all this psychobabble therapy. I call it Insta therapy on Instagram and Facebook and on all these online forums. I think we need to be really careful of all of that. But I think even in adulthood, there are so many people turning to their friends. Listen, I'm not saying that you don't have friends that give solid advice, but be very careful, because I guarantee you there are people watching, men and women, who turn to friends and their friends gave them really bad advice. They were wrong about the person in question. Friends can be jealous and envious. Some friends don't want to see you happy. They don't want to see you in a relationship. It's a threat to the friendship. They don't want to lose you to that. They could be wrong about the person that you're questioning, that you are seeking advice about. So I would be wary of going to your friends, especially if you're turning to the opposite sex, because 9 out of 10 times they have some sort of feelings for you. So they're not going to guide you in the right direction unless they have a high amount of integrity and character and a strong moral compass, and they're not going to do that type of fuckery, because who wants to rack up that type of karma, right? So I think that you should take some advice with a grain of salt, even professionals. If someone's saying something to you and it's not sitting right with you, if you're kind of like, well, I don't know, I don't know if I agree with this person. I don't really see it that way. Trust that. Absolutely trust that. Trust your gut. I think we allow people to talk us in and out of things. If you're an easily influenced person, then you're going to have a really hard life. I'm not an easily influenced person. I very much make my own decisions. The only thing that I ever turn to for people is, well, I have a hard time trusting my gut. Even though I'm not easily influenced, I kind of always know, and for whatever reason, I don't listen to myself or I don't follow through, and then I kick myself in the ass because I'm like, I knew that. I'm getting better at this, though. I usually turn to my friends more for business advice, if they own their own business, career advice, things of that nature. But I'm not even a person that will post in a hiking group like, hey, I need hiking advice, because I'm just an avid researcher and I like to think for myself. I want to make my own decisions. Nobody could tell me what hiking shoes to go wear, because it's all relative. People that love ultras, and then there's people that love Keen or whatever. So, Merrell's, it's like Solomon's. And then you talk to another person and you're like, oh, I hate Solomon's. So it's all relative. You got to figure that stuff out on your own. Go try on a bunch of shoes. You're asking 100 people. You're going to get 100 different opinions. So I would just be very, very wary in who you're talking to, especially when it comes to dating and interpersonal relationships. Be really confident that that person has your back. And remember that if you're asking your friends about somebody that they don't know at all, they don't know them at all, how can you really get solid advice? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Isn't it interesting that we ask our friends about total strangers? I mean, a good friend, what I try to do, and friends that I have in my life do, is like, well, this is the best question a friend can say. What advice would you give if I was asking you that question? What advice would you give to another person? Or how does it make you feel when you think about this person? Or what is your gut telling you about this person? Because so often we're extremely clouded by our past, and we let our past dictate our future, especially when a new person comes in and they remind us even in the slightest way of the person from the past that, brutalized you, wounded you, broke your heart. And that's not fair, because that new person is not that old person. Now, you could be repeating a pattern. You will figure that out in time. Guarantee you, you will figure that out in time. If you remain aware, you're asking the right questions, and you're looking for patterns. What is my best advice for that? If actions and words align, don't listen to words. People are full of shit. They're full of shit. Many. A high majority. But if you are watching someone, you know, a lot of us stalk people on social media. I really like to get to know somebody in person. I think the in-person experience is the best experience, period. But if you're watching somebody on social media, are they staying consistent? Behaviorally, the content they're pushing out, the language that they use. Looking for congruency. Because actions are everything. If you are hung up on people's words, you're going to be disappointed almost every single time. Trust me, you really will. So pay attention to how the person is behaving. Behavior is always the telltale sign. So I'm not saying that you should not turn to peers and your friends, but I would be extremely wary of who specifically you're seeking advice from. And I would use that little tactic of like, well, if my friend was coming to me and asking me these questions, what advice would I give? Think for yourself. Be your own person. You cannot run around bubble wrapped. I always think of the commercial, the Charmin commercial with the mom stuffing the kid in all the toilet paper and then they go out to like play soccer or play sports. We want that. Our brain is designed to keep us safe and protect us from danger and death. That is literally one of the biggest jobs of our brain. Nobody wants to get hurt again. But remaining hypervigilant all the time and wrapping yourself in bubble wrap, you have to get to a point where you take a risk on somebody and you risk getting your heart broken. There are people who've been married for 30 years who never saw it coming and were completely blindsided and got annihilated by their partner. There is no guarantee. I wish there was, believe me, of anybody. I love happy endings. I love a good love story. There's no guarantee. But you're going to either sit on the sidelines, you're going to take your ball, like my mom used to say, and go home and take your temper fit and stay in that mode for the rest of your life. Sit on the sidelines watching everybody else create happiness for themselves. Or you're just going to throw yourself into celibacy and non-partnership because you're so done, which is just another kind of form of an adult temper tantrum. Or you're going to heal yourself, do the fucking work, put yourself out there and take the chance. How many people are you going to let pass you by that could have been a potentially really good partner for you because some idiot in your life said, that's not the one, stay away from that one? You have to think for yourself. You can seek advice, but you have to think for yourself and learn to trust your gut. It is so imperative. Do not let external sources and forces cloud your judgment because you might let a good one get away. And that makes me sad for you. I love you to pieces.